This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Hi, friends. When life gets tough, whatever should you do? Well, definitely not that. I'll just buy stupid little toys. But for the downtrodden of 40k, falling into chaos is an all too common occurrence. In 40k, chaos is quite interesting as it is essentially the manifestation of all the galaxy's feelings, and the four chaos gods represent four main emotions of mortals. Now, the warp isn't inherently evil, but in 40k, it definitely is, since the galaxy's been such a shitty place for so long, with the only war and such. And with that, there are four main chaos gods who correspond to the main emotions, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, along with the bit on why people might follow these wacky dudes. But you know what's almost as scary as the four diabolical chaos gods? People stealing your personal information. Ooh! So today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN encrypts your online data to secure your information when on public networks. In addition, it masks your IP address and doesn't keep logs so that your location and download history isn't connected to your identity. So yeah, Slanesh degenerates might appreciate that. Or maybe they wouldn't, depending on how far into it they are. Anyways though, in addition to the online security stuff, one of the best, if not the best features of the VPN is how they let me change my virtual location. With Surfshark, I can move my virtual self to one of Surfshark's over 3,200 servers in 100 countries. This allows me to watch shows and movies blocked in my country, so thanks to Surfshark, I can watch more stuff without buying more stupid subscriptions. All you have to do is connect to a server in a country that has a thing that you want to watch and, well, watch it. Surfshark is super fast, secure, blocks ads, and lets you change your location on the fly. Plus, they have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so unlike 40k chaos stuff, you can feel safe trying it out. So, if that sounds cool to you, be sure to check out my link in the description, surfshark.com/crackduck, and use code crackduck for an extra 4 months free on your subscription. Huge thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. But anyways, the Chaos Gods existed long before mankind, but came into prominence along with humanity, which honestly doesn't make that much sense considering Eldar and other species have equal or stronger emotions to humanity. However, I suppose Eldar had their own gods and the other species aren't important. Anyways though, Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle awoke during the Middle Ages, and then Slanesh awoke when the Eldar Empire literally fucked themselves out of existence. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Chaos Gods. First off, we'll talk about probably the most ubiquitous Chaos God. The setting is called Warhammer, not Whorehammer after all, so piss off Slanesh, we're talking about Khorne. Khorne, aka Karneth the Blood God, is god of war, violence, hatred, and power. Khorne has made it his mission to sow endless war across the galaxy, and by golly, I have a suspicion he might be succeeding. He's also technically a god of honor, but in reality, Khorne does not care from where the blood flows. Although he might prefer his followers to straight up kill someone, he's not going to complain too much if a serial killer is constantly racking up kills in dishonorable ways. His honor means nothing as long as he gets his skulls and blood. And herein lies one of the crucial things to remember about the Chaos Gods. They literally lie and manipulate constantly. They have supposed values, but realistically, those values mean nothing, and to deal with chaos is to give yourself up to eternal slavery. But anyways, Khorne is empowered by any bloodshed, so every warrior powers Khorne to an extent, even if they don't know him or are loyalists. So you might think that would make him the most powerful god in 40k, considering the only war and Warhammer thing, but there are many forms of suffering in 40k, so the gods are all relatively equal. Yes, in war there is violence, but there is also plague and death. There is unpredictability and hope for change, and there is greed and longing for pleasure. So all of the gods get fueled by war. Anyways though, the followers of Khorne have but one directive: kill, kill, and get more powerful. Powerful enough to kill, that is. His followers are able to achieve unnatural martial prowess through their worship and by earning his favor with incredible feats of violence. But why would one follow Khorne? Well, of all the gods, this is one of the most straightforward. Why do people do steroids or buy sketchy Russian muscle miracles? Many people simply want to be more powerful, either easier than humanly possible or beyond the bounds of mortal limits, especially in a world as grim as 40k where so many people feel powerless. Many would do anything to be a great warrior. And Once again, the gods of chaos love to manipulate, and many followers of Khorne may begin their fall somewhat unwittingly. Promises of strength and glory from an unknown being, just to fall into a blind bloodlust where your life is simply violence. However, speaking of manipulation, let's talk about some real manipulation. Oh wait, I read that wrong. It says reality manipulation. Whoa! Hey, I'm not supposed to be blue, god damn it! Hey, wait, blue. Just like the balls. Balls. Just like Slaanesh. Let's talk about Slaanesh. Slaanesh, or Slaaneth, is a god of excess, obsession, greed, pain, and pleasure. He was born with the death of the Eldar Empire when their debauchery became so excessive it birthed a literal god of excess. And she continues to devour any unprotected Eldar souls to this day and tempts the galaxy to fall to her will. Slaanesh is empowered by those who will do anything in unhealthy excess. While this excess is usually depicted as the classic sex, drugs, and rock and roll, it can really be anything, from someone addicted to popping pills and banging chicks, to the fucking kid skipping homework to play Fortnite all day and embarrass me. Slaanesh feeds on it all. As such, Slaanesh embodies this excess by being incredibly alluring, this divine, irresistible seduction being metaphorical for the incredible allure of fully immersing yourself in your passion or becoming an addict. To gaze at Slaanesh is to lose yourself and become a slave to your every desire, and thus an eternal servant of Slaanesh. If Khorne embodies the physical aspects of the archetypical devil, Slaanesh is the temptation. Thus, the followers of Slaanesh are gifted what they most desire, be it charisma, beauty, influence, or simple carnal pleasures. However, the standard Slaaneshi blessings are increased senses to feel all pleasures more intensely, extreme speed to master and perfect, and an unnatural allure to trap other victims to Slaaneshi's rule. However, these boons of course come with a catch. The longer one serves Slaanesh, the more mundane their once great blessings feel, and they need to indulge even more in order to get the pleasure they seek. To worship Slaanesh is a literal addiction, and all followers either die or get so numb to the world that only the most degenerate and self-indulgent acts can even give them a feeling. Thank you, GW, for this very subtle addiction allegory. And so, generally the warriors of Slaanesh are the fastest and most skilled. Being followers of Slaanesh, his warriors are of course obsessed with battle and constantly hone their skills to be a perfect killing machine. In addition, they're probably the worst dudes to face in the battlefield, since they're very likely to maim, torture, and do other non-YouTube friendly things to their victims in order to stimulate their rotted goon brains. And just like Khorne, I feel like it should be quite obvious why one would fall to Slaanesh. Feeling good feels good. In a shitty world like 40k, gosh darn it, I'd kill to feel good. People constantly get swept up in their passions or get addicted to fun things. You always hear stories of people sacrificing their health and relationships for greatness in their passion. People turn to drugs and degeneracy in hard times just to feel good in a shitty position. Dumb morons wasting their life savings on Genshin Impact just to jack off to the cute anime girl that some overworked artist drew in between not seeing their family and wanting to die. And then times that by 40,000 for the world defined by how horrible it is, and it starts to make sense why someone might take a deal from the Prince of Pleasure. At first, they get an unparalleled high for their greatest dreams coming true, only for it to inevitably wane as they do literally anything to get an ounce of that feeling back, to feel anything at all. Also, being brain dead addicted to something and/or a disgusting horny gooter? Gee, I didn't know TikTok was a chaos god. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system. Now let's move on to the next guy. Next guy is Nurgle, or Nurgleth, the father of plagues, god of disease, decay, despair, and also rebirth. His goal is to corrupt the galaxy with plagues he concocts in his foul garden and to decay all things. Nurgle's power and influence spreads with his many diseases, and as the people of the galaxy suffer and fall to despair, Nurgle's might grows. In fact, Nurgle may be the most influential chaos god of all. One of his titles is Lord of All, since all things decay. Nothing is truly permanent, and one day will wither away. From living beings to grand structures, even ideologies and ideas decay away eventually. Nothing is truly safe from the entropy of time. Thus, nothing is safe from Nurgle's influence, and he will become the most powerful chaos god eventually. He would just be a god of a dead universe, and then he himself would inevitably decay away. Anyways, Nurgle is the creator of every infection the universe has ever seen, and to the present time he is constantly crafting new and more evil diseases in his silly little garden. And every time one of these diseases infects someone, he grows in power. But other than spreading his influence, the diseases are also integral for growing his armies. Nurgle's followers are almost always people who are suffering from disease and turn to his dark influence to cheat their own mortality and cope with their despair. It's no accident that Nurgle is the only Chaos God whose lesser demons are born of mortal souls rather than just a direct fragment of himself. A key theme with Nurgle is the cycle of life and death. From death there is life. From a corpse many life forms are born and thrive, only to then die themselves and perpetuate the cycle. The most devout Nurgle followers are in a constant cycle of rot and rebirth, rotting away only to bloom in a new disgusting form. So now, this seems disgusting and horrible, mostly because it is, but why would anyone choose to follow this jerk? Well, because in the infinite suffering of 40k, Nurgle offers his putrid paw to the hopeless with promises of alleviating their pain. However, instead of taking away their pain or guiding them to fixing their problems, Nurgle gives them the power to be joyous at their place in the world, no matter how horrible it may be. Alternatively, he can assure them that their life will stagnate. In a tumultuous world, stagnation can be comforting. Change is scary, and Nurgle is the antithesis of that. Think of all the people longing for the way things were and are opposed to any change. Sometimes rightfully so, and other times to a foolish extent. Well, that's where Nurgle comes in to groom his proverbial Discord kittens. Plus, straight up, who doesn't fear death? Literally no one. If anyone says otherwise, then they're what I like to call a flamin' pants liar. So, the followers of Nurgle sacrifice all that makes them human, all that makes them alive, in order to transcend death and become complacent with their despair, immune to pain, death, and suffering, but a disgusting, rotted corpse. These cultists will do anything to preserve themselves, even give up their lives. However, change can also be the only thing to look forward to. In the grim dark future, there is only war. But perhaps in the future of that future, there can be change. And so then we have the final Chaos God, Tzeentch, the changer of ways, god of change, magic, scheming, but also hope and ambition. To me, Tzeentch is the most compelling god. Beyond fielding funny Birdman, he is fascinating on so many levels. He manipulates the galaxy for his entertainment and plots impossibly intricate schemes in order to sow chaos through the world and widen his influence. He has a full comprehension of the past, present, and future, as well as a wisdom of all the factors of the universe. All these variables fit into his complex schemes so complex that he himself arguably does not know their true purpose. He is powered by the ambitious people of the world, those who would plot against their fellow man or have ambitions too great for their own good. He hears all mortal desires and plans, and he whispers hope into their minds. Be it a politician plotting their way to the top, or a hapless man praying for a change to his sad life, Tzeentch will be there to offer his power, offer you a part in his endless plans. He grants divine mutations and great magic to his followers, but he can take away those boons just as unpredictably as he awarded them. One of the most fascinating aspects of Tzeentch to me is that he's both the god of scheming and wisdom, but also the god of unpredictability and the unknowable. This paradoxical facet is extremely fitting of the god and is deeply symbolic of what he represents. Change is necessary and ambition is important. It is a defining trait of mankind. Without ambition, nothing could get better, nothing can change, everything would be deeply boring. But ambition is also the folly of many. To be too ambitious is dangerous. To enact change without considering the consequences can be apocalyptic. No matter how smart, no matter how much power one has, he cannot outscheme unfiltered ambition. There will always be a variable missed, there will be futures unknown, and there will be consequences to those who are blinded by their need for change. And Tzeentch is the embodiment of that. People fall to chaos because sometimes the only thing you can look forward forward to is change. Whether it's the overly ambitious man trying to make an intricate plan to make his life better, or it's a gambler endlessly hoping his big score will come. To an extent, Tzeentch's unpredictability is as comforting as it is terrifying. Unlike Khorne, you don't need to be the strongest to win his favor. Unlike Slaanesh, you don't need to be perfect. Nurgle loves all his followers, but he makes you accept your place at the bottom, in the mud, with the worms. But not Tzeentch. You can be the most worthless, talentless nobody in the entire dang world, but one day, Tzeentch might just choose to endow you with great power just for the giggles. And is that not why the followers of Tzeentch damn themselves to him, for the hope of becoming something else, something greater? Oh yeah, and Tzeentch is also the funny magic birdman with Egyptian Space Marines, so yeah, literally peak. But anyways, the Chaos Gods are a truly fascinating concept, and the mere idea of the main baddie of 40k literally being the embodiment of the vices of mankind is quite interesting. On a metatextual level, 40k is quite literally a story of humankind fighting our personal demons and resisting the dizzying extremes of human nature. Or, it's just a fun little board game for your action figures to shoot each other. Ha ha ha. And also, people who say that Chaos Gods aren't evil in 40k, please look at this picture and tell me, chaos is beyond concepts like evil. The warp is a reflection of the materium, and the materium has so much evil in the setting that it reflects to the extreme. Again, the warp is not inherently evil, but currently it's pretty damn evil, and the Chaos Gods are the avatars of such evil. Now maybe I'm just too dumb stupid brain to see a joke here, or it's just people playing into their own faction, which is fine, but the whole point of the Chaos Gods is that they suck ass and are manipulative jerks. The Imperium is evil, but Chaos is eviler. Them being eviler doesn't make the Imperium good, but it's crazy to believe the lies of the Chaos Gods. Chaos is not just chaos. It's the most radical end of chaos, the most extreme version of any ideal or feeling it represents. And in these ultimate extremes, once noble intentions and hopeful actions become dark and twisted. Anyways though, let me know what you think about the Chaos Gods, and let me know if you would like me to do separate videos on each of the Chaos Gods. I probably will eventually, since there is lore I intentionally didn't tap into, since it would just be a rabbit hole and there's other things I would like to delve into. But if there's interest, I'll definitely push it up the list. Whatever it is though, comment your thoughts. Again, thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Remember to check out my link in the description and use my code for an extra 4 months free. Anyways though, thank you for watching, and big thanks to the patrons who support the channel. You are very epic. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing with your chaotic buddies. Thanks. Oh what, you guys wanted to hear about Malal? Well, he's a Chaos God of never being relevant ever again. Okay, bye, thanks.